It happened to me and my wife last winter, and not a single day goes by where I don't think about her. We were driving back late that night after attending a friend's anniversary dinner. It wasn't snowing or raining, just one of those long, quiet winter nights where the air feels heavy and the sky is swallowed by pitch black darkness. The highway we took was known for being lonely, and for miles it stretched between nothing but forests and small fuel stations. I remember the heater was on, the soft hum of the radio filled the car, and we were both a little tired, but in a good mood. There's something oddly peaceful about driving through empty highways at night. But that peace didn't last very long. Around midnight, we stopped at this small highway store to grab water and stretch our legs. The place was lit by a single flickering bulb outside, and an old vending machine buzzed near the entrance. That's when we saw her for the first time. She was standing right near the door, thin, frail, maybe in her late 40s, wearing an oversized grey shawl draped around her shoulders. Her hair was tangled and messy, covering most of her face. She stepped forward as soon as she noticed us and spoke in this soft, almost cracked voice. "Spare some change, please. Just a little." Her voice was shaky, but there was this strange calmness about her too. I glanced at my wife, and we both felt the same thing. Not fear exactly, but unease. Something about her didn't sit right. We told her we didn't have cash and walked past her into the store. I figured she was just another homeless person trying to get by. We didn't think too much of it. About 40 minutes later, we stopped at another fuel station, around 20 miles down the highway. I was still behind the wheel, and my wife went inside to grab some coffee. I stayed in the car scrolling through my phone, and then I froze. Standing near the convenience store's window, half hidden in the shadow of a neon sign, was the same woman. Same grey shawl, same tangled hair, same exact posture. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and leaned forward to make sure I wasn't imagining it. But no, it was her. That didn't make sense. The last store was miles behind us, and there was no way she could have reached this place before us. Not on foot, not even by car, unless she left before we did. But we had seen her outside when we walked in. When my wife came back, I asked her if she saw the woman. She turned and looked, and just as she did, the woman slowly turned her head toward us. Her face was partly visible this time. Her skin looked pale, too pale, and her lips were trembling like she was whispering something, but no sound came out. My wife got uneasy and said, "Maybe she just came here before us." We didn't talk about it after that. I started driving again, and we both decided not to overthink it. Coincidence, we told ourselves. Just a weird coincidence. But deep down, something didn't feel right. An hour later, we reached another small rest stop. It was past 2 a.m. now, and the highway was silent. No passing cars, no distant truck lights, just endless darkness stretching into nothing. I was tired, so we decided to stop for one last cup of coffee before finishing the last leg of the drive. The store had these dim yellow lights, and the shelves inside were mostly empty. And then we saw her again. This time, she wasn't outside. She was standing inside the store, right near the entrance, like she'd been waiting. Her grey shawl hung loosely now, and her face, God, I still see it when I close my eyes, was completely visible under the light. Her skin looked almost lifeless. Her eyes were sunken but piercing, and she smiled faintly, like she knew us. I grabbed my wife's hand instinctively. We both froze, but before we could say anything, she stepped closer. And in the softest, coldest voice I've ever heard, she whispered, "You should have helped me the first time." And then, right in front of us, she vanished. Not walked away, not hid somewhere. One moment she was there, and the next, she was gone. I felt my chest tighten, my breath hitching as I tried to make sense of what just happened. My wife's nails dug into my arm, and we bolted straight to the counter where the old store manager was half dozing off behind a register. I told him, "Listen, there was a woman here. Grey shawl, messy hair. She just disappeared. Did you see her?" The old man stared at us for a second, and then slowly leaned forward. "You saw her too," he whispered. My stomach dropped. He went on, "You're not the first. Travelers see her sometimes, always late at night. She died on this road years ago. They say she still walks the highway, begging for change, begging for someone to care. But those who see her more than once..." He paused, glanced at the door, then lowered his voice even more. "They usually don't make it home." I don't know how I drove after that. My hands were trembling so badly, I had to grip the wheel with both hands just to keep control. The rest of the ride was quiet. We kept glancing at the mirrors, half expecting her to be there in the back seat. We made it home around 4 a.m., but neither of us slept that night. This happened about a year ago, and I still think about it sometimes whenever I take an Uber late at night. Honestly, it messed me up for a while. I was coming back from a friend's place. It was past midnight, and I booked an Uber because my car was in the shop. It was one of those dead silent nights where the streets look emptier than usual, you know. I was sitting outside waiting when the driver pulled up, an older guy, maybe in his late 40s, pretty friendly, nothing unusual about him. When I got in, there was already someone sitting in the back seat on the left side, a woman. At first, I thought maybe she was a shared ride or something, but when I checked the app, it showed only me. I didn't say anything though. I just assumed maybe he was dropping her off somewhere first. The weird thing was, she never looked up. She was sitting completely still, hands folded in her lap, staring down at the floor. I figured maybe she was tired or didn't want to talk, so I didn't bother her. We drove in silence for about 10 minutes. Then I noticed something in the rearview mirror. Her lips were moving, but there was no sound coming out. At first, I thought maybe she was just whispering to herself, maybe praying or humming, I don't know. But when I glanced back slightly, I saw her face, and my stomach dropped. Her mouth was moving way too fast for whispering. It was like she was mumbling a whole paragraph every second. I finally leaned forward and quietly asked the driver, "Hey, do you know her?" He looked at me through the mirror and shook his head. "No," he said, keeping his voice low. "I thought she was with you." That's when I realized something was really wrong. I turned fully this time and said, Excuse me?" She stopped instantly. No movement, no blinking, just frozen. And then, out of nowhere, her head snapped up so fast I actually flinched. Her eyes were wide open, and I swear to God, they didn't look normal. It wasn't like glowing demon eyes or anything like you see in movies, but it was worse. They were cloudy, pale, and completely unfocused, like she wasn't really seeing us. The driver muttered, "What the hell?" under his breath, and slowed the car. And then she spoke. But it wasn't a normal voice. It sounded layered, like 2 or 3 voices were talking at the same time, all slightly out of sync. She said something I didn't understand, some language I couldn't recognize, but the way she said it made my whole body tense up. Before we could react, she started screaming. Not like a human scream either. It was this deep, guttural, animalistic sound, like it was being forced out of her. The driver panicked and slammed the brakes. The car skidded to a stop in the middle of the road. I yanked my seatbelt off, ready to bolt, but then it stopped. She went silent. The driver and I just sat there breathing hard, not saying anything. Then slowly, she turned her head toward the window and whispered, almost calmly, "They can see us." Just that one sentence. And before we could process it, she started thrashing, violently, her entire body convulsing against the seatbelt, her hands clawing at the air like she was trying to grab something invisible. The driver yelled for me to get out, but I was frozen. I couldn't move. Then, it stopped again. She slumped forward, completely motionless. The driver finally pulled over to the side of the road. We were both shaking. He reached back, nudged her shoulder gently, and said, "Miss, are you okay?" No response. We sat there for maybe 30 seconds, trying to figure out what to do. When she suddenly snapped upright, stared directly at me, and smiled. It was the creepiest, most unnatural smile I've ever seen in my life. Then she said, in a perfectly normal voice this time, "You shouldn't have followed me." And just like that, she opened the door and got out. The thing is, we were in the middle of nowhere. There were no houses, no lights, no sidewalks, nothing. Just a long stretch of empty road surrounded by trees. We watched her walk straight into the woods without a flashlight, without looking back, and within seconds, she was gone. The driver turned to me, his face pale as paper, and said, "I'm ending this ride." Neither of us called the cops. I don't even know how we would have explained it. But here's the part that still gets me. The next day, I opened the Uber app to check my past rides. That trip, it wasn't there. It was like it never happened.